Coworkers that couldn't handle the sexual tension anymore and went for it. How'd it turn out? Really poorly tbh, extremely drunk sex and ended up losing our friendship. We were 24 and worked at a bank together, we used to be best friends. But now we haven't talked in years. Not great. Dated for just over a year on and off, but now that we're not together, it sucks having to see her almost every day. After years of sexual tension we did it. It wasn't anything close of what we expected, never talked about it again, and we went back to just being friends. I have been rejected respectfully each time. She's been suffering my snoring for 20 years now. Edit yes. Sleep apnea. ENT doc, etc. Thank you, I appreciate 1,000 people telling me this. Please understand I heard you. HR all of a sudden wanted a friendly chat. It was great. Good sex, and then I left the job before it got weird. It was the hottest sex I ever had. We are still in touch, but we are continents apart. I haven't met him since 2013. Pretty sure if we meet again, we will not waste time talking. Had sex with him 2 months into my employment there. 19 years later we have a mortgage in the suburbs and 2 children. Shrug light skin tone emoji modifier #hash. Terrible. Don't fuck your boss. I run a sole proprietorship, so I go for it about twice a day. Don't think it will last, though I'm not really my type. Been together for 5 years now and still working in the same company, different departments. Both of us had multiple promotions since we got together. Great sex and great on saving gas and food expense as we live together now lol. I was a pro photographer with corporate clients a little over 20 years ago. I had a cute assistant and we started sleeping together. We've been married for 14 years and have a great daughter. We're a happy family. Been married 15 years. She's my best friend and wife all mixed into one. We fucked. Just had to get it out of our systems. We were fine after that. Great. I'm sitting in bed right now with her. Started off as a fling, but we both fell hard. We've been together 3 years and I am more in love with her every single day. I fully intend on marrying her in the near future and spending the rest of my life with her. Best decision I ever made. Turns out she is married and wasn't winking at me, it was a nervous tick. Meeting with HR tomorrow. There is a nice girl that serves me lunch and always tells me to have a nice day, we'll try that one next. They won't let me train horses anymore. Married for almost a year, been together for going on 4.5 years and still going strong. She lights up the room when she walks in it. We kept it a secret for 6 months before people at work found out. I ended up firing him after we had been dating for about 9 months. We are still together nearly 7 years later and have a beautiful baby who just turned 1. Sometimes, against all odds, it works out. Made out in a bar. She took me back to her apartment and we kissed some more. Her phone rang. Her fiancé had randomly called. She felt guilty. I went home. It was never discussed again barring a few awkward smiles. And then she got married and left the city. In hindsight, glad it stopped before the sex began. Married 23 years this June. Red heart #. I'm about to find out. Dumpstered an 8-year relationship, turned out to be a huge mistake. Work is miserable, home is lonely. Knock out some knuckle children on break and enjoy the post-nut clarity. Most of these stories are about marriage, you're just talking about sexual tension, potentially nothing serious. I had a one-night stand with a coworker once, got it out of my system, wasn't too awkward. TBF work was so boring, it felt nice to have a little flutter in my chest when I saw her. The first one had a few check-ins by HR after it ended, but the second one will be 15 years in July. Edit spelling. We had sex, but for some reason I was sweating profusely and it grossed her out. She kind of ghosted me after that. I tried it again a few years later with a different girl, and we've been married for 3 years now and expecting our second child in November. My wife says I'm no longer allowed to have an intern. We couldn't handle it anymore, so we just did it. Both of us were very principled about not sleeping with coworkers and definitely not getting into relationships with them, until we weren't. Been the best few months now. I'll marry her in a few years, I'm sure. Went fine for about 6 months. And then it didn't. Been together for 14 years, married for I got that going for me. When shit hit the fan, we were both miserable at work. But I was in my early 20s, so pretty immature. But it sucked having to work closely with someone when I couldn't stand the sound of his voice. Right. First dated for a year, great sex. Turned out she was a pathological liar and just walked out on me one day. Reached out several years later to meet up, I declined. Second, friends with benefits for a few months, then she found a steady guy and they got kids. No hard feelings. Third, 10 years and 2 kids later, you tell me. We've been together 13 years and married for 6. We 28F and 29M just got married in April after 5.5 years of dating, have a house, 2 dogs, and 1 senile as shit cat, love her. He had worked at our office much longer than me, neither of us wanted to work with our SO, so I ended up quitting. It all starts in the Slack DMs. Married 2 years this summer. Been together for 6. He's my favorite person to dream with and he's still the amazing dynamo I met in the office all those years ago, Blackheart Hash. Pretty good, we regularly nip out for a quickie on a Thursday lunchtime and there's plenty of banter and flirting between us. It helps we were already married for 12 years when we started working together, though rolling on the floor laughing. I've done it at every job. But I'm a bartender and that's how it goes. My boss once took me aside and told me that he'd just hired a new person and that I should in no way even think about dipping my pen in the company ink. Within a few months she new hire moved into the apartment next door to me, small town, and shortly after that we started having sleepovers. Been married almost 15 years now, and the now former boss was part of our wedding party. I was her boss 17 years ago. I didn't want kids, now I too, and one's a teenager. Oh, and now she's the boss. She decided not to divorce her husband and it led to a very hostile work environment. She was my boss. Knocked her up. Had to change jobs. He's the best FWB I've ever had. Definitely recommend overtime on a weekend, smirking face. Had both sides of the coin at the same place of work. Dated a girl for 3 months and it just didn't work out, had to work with her for a year after, which was a little awkward. Eventually after that, I met my wife, who was a new hire that I trained, face with tongue sticking out. Been together 10 months, living together now, very very happy. It went great, honestly. I bit the bullet and told him how I felt. It's close to 8 years now, lol. It honestly feels like it hasn't been that long. We still manage to have fun and spend quality time together despite living together and stuff. It was awkward at first because I always thought about what she looked like naked, but obviously had never seen her naked until we had sex. I paused to stare at her thinking, holy shit, I'm seeing her naked, but also thinking, holy shit, I'm seeing her naked and we are about to fuck. She wasn't disappointed in my size, which was of major concern initially. My ex pretty much did this. How'd it go for me? Not good.